Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us today to this JLCA Lawyers webinar. My name is Javier and I will be taking you through today's event. Today's session is on property buying in Spain and all related issues to do particularly with residency, but also will be touching on the protection requirements through insurance needs. It is great to have you all with us today. Thanks again for joining us. Some of you might be watching a recorded version of this after the event, and some of you will be with us today live. All the same, we are delighted to be able to advise you today on the best way to purchase property in Spain and how to avoid any potential pitfalls that may arise. We will also be touching on navigating through the issues of becoming a resident in Spain or traveling to Spain, particularly post-Brexit, as well as the options available through this residency. With us today, we have our specialists from JLCA Lawyers and from Mark Petrie Insurance Brokers. For JLCA Lawyers, we have Emma and Christina, who work in the extrajudicial department. They are both very experienced and specialized on all matters related to property buying and or selling in Spain, as well as residency, visa applications, and migration matters in general. So there's plenty of expertise there to be relied upon today and hopefully answer any questions that you may have. Also in our panel is Mark Petrie from Mark Petrie Insurance Brokers. Mark has been a licensed insurance broker since 1977 and has spent most of his professional life helping the British citizens settle in Spain. He was a consulate agent in Alicante in 1998 and was made honorary consulate in 2007. More recently, and significantly I might add, Mark has been made an MBE for his many years of services rendered to British citizens living in Spain. Now, just a quick reminder for those of you listening live today, if you have any pressing questions for the panel, well, you can do so by typing them in on the pop-up window that you should see on your screen. So I would like to start today with a brief introduction to the companies that are being represented by our panelists. So if I could ask either Emma or Christina from JLCA if you could give a brief introduction to JLCA Lawyers.
Thanks very much, Javier. JLCA Lawyers, we are a Spanish legal firm. We've been established for over 20 years. We practice Spanish law. We're based in Alicante, but cover the whole of Spain, including the Canary and the Balearic Islands. We also have a UK office, which is based in London, and also a US office based in Miami. We're a multidisciplinary firm. We do cover extrajudicial work as described. This covers everything from purchasing a property, residency, taxes, inheritance matters. We also practice general practice law, including civil and criminal matters. We're also a multilingual firm. We find this particularly important because the emphasis is not just about translation, it's about interpretation and making sure that you understand it from the perspective that of the country that you're coming from, or from a British perspective, which is more the point, of course, of this webinar. All of this is with the idea of providing a tailored service specific to your situation. So we hope that whatever your inquiry is, that we'll be able to provide the help and advice that you need.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that introduction, Emma. Mark, may I ask you as well to give us an introduction to your business, please?
Yes, certainly. Let's see, Mark Petrie Insurance Brokerage was established back in 1968 and in Denia, province of Alicante, the north end of the province. We have offices in Denia and also in Javier, but we also operate anywhere in Spain. We have clients down in Andalusia, in Galicia, in Madrid, in Catalonia, basically all over Spain, including the Balearics. We're generally dealing with the expatriate market, mainly British, but also dealing with Dutch, German, French, Italian as well. We dealing mainly with domestic insurance, which can be health insurance, life, household, motor car, boat insurance, accident policies, personal accident policies, and any sort of commercial or industrial policy as well. Most of our policies are translated into various languages, so there's no language problem, and all of the staff, all of them speak English or other languages as well. We have specialised since Brexit. The problems arisen with health insurance being so necessary. We're specialised in this matter. We're talking with the insurance companies of the need for the Spanish authorities to satisfy them to be able to obtain the residencias. And that's basically our story.
Very good. Well, that's two very similar profiles then between the two companies in terms of your national coverage on seeing clients and the fact that you know, the multilingual aspect of both firms to deal with most European clients. So I suppose on to the main topic of the day, which is property buying in Spain. So I will come back to the JLCA team now. In terms of buying, someone looking to buy their dream home in Spain, or maybe just an investment, could you please run us through the simplistic way, the process of buying a property in Spain that a British resident citizen would go through in Spain?
Yeah, of course. There's a great deal of difference between the buying process in the UK and the buying process in Spain. So it's important to understand those differences when you get started. The initial part of finding a property that you're interested in, this could be direct with the person that you're buying from, or through an estate agent more commonly, and putting a deposit down on the property is pretty much the same. Once you get to this point, we always think it's very important to have independent legal advice to make sure that they can do all of the correct property searches for you, to make sure that the property you're buying is exactly what you're expecting and you're not going to have any problems later on. Once you have involved your lawyers, what you're working towards is a private purchase contract. This contract will have all of the conditions which are binding to the final notary signing. So it's important to make sure that you've got everything in there that needs to be, to make sure that everything goes smoothly at the end. The following part will then be the actual signing at the notary and then inscription of your deed at the appropriate registry office. As part of that as well, we do actually try to make sure that we arrange all of your utilities and everything to be set up for you, so you can move into your property and everything's done.
Very good. And would if someone is unable to travel to Spain, can they still manage the whole process entirely from the UK, or would they have to go to Spain?
No, absolutely. The entire process can be managed with the person being in the UK with an appropriate power of attorney, which we can arrange at a notary local to the person in the UK. This is something that we do all of the time. So it's just a case of us preparing the document, and then the client just needs to go to the notary office and sign, and then we're able to do the whole procedure for them, obviously keeping them notified of every step so that they know exactly what's going on.
Very good. Thank you for that. At what stage would you recommend that, because obviously when buying a property, the first thing one does is obviously speak with agents finding their property. At which stage would you recommend or advise one should be speaking to a lawyer at the sort of preliminary stages of buying a property?
Well, there's sort of two schools of thought. The important part would be once you've actually found a property of interest, because at that point your lawyers can be involved and actually help with liaising in the early stages of placing your deposit, and then obviously moving on to, as I said, the more important part of the private purchase contract. But in actual fact, we're finding that clients are finding it very helpful to speak to us before then, because we can give them advice about what to expect before they're actually going into the estate agent, so that they're a little bit more forearmed with knowledge before they even start. It makes it a much more comfortable experience for them when they understand exactly what's going on and what to expect.
Very good. So getting a bit of advice beforehand might help them throughout the decision making when it comes to buying a property.
Absolutely. We're more than happy to have a chat with people about what the different options might be, depending on where they want to look and what sort of things that they might want to buy. And sometimes they start looking at properties or areas that they hadn't thought of because they've widened their scope a little bit.
Very good. Thank you very much for that, Emma. What kind of costs are we looking at? Would you say, maybe as a ballpark figure, as a percentage, when buying a property in Spain, take into account all fees that need to be paid and taxes?
Perfectly honest, my preference isn't to go on a percentage, because it depends on the actual region that you're buying in Spain. Each of the autonomous regions have got, if we're talking about a resale property, a specific transfer tax that is paid. For example, in Comunidad Valenciana, in Alicante, Costa Blanca, this is the region that we're based in, it's 10%, whereas in Andalusia it's 7%. In the Balearic Islands, it's 10 as well. In the Canaries, 6.5. All of them vary depending on. But then again, you have to take into account that the actual property prices vary in those regions as well, where you may find that the same property that you're looking at in Costa Blanca costs less than a similar one in Andalusia or in the Balearic Islands. So it's a little bit of a balance. On top of that, then you're going to be looking at notary and registry fees, which are based on the price of the property, but typically you'll be looking at about 1,000 to 1,500 euros, depending on what the purchase price is.
Okay, fantastic, very good. And for those who perhaps already own property, and they want to say rent those properties, how could we help someone rent a property? Are there any specific licenses that are required, or any particular regulations they need to abide by in order to rent property in Spain?
There are certain properties that you need a tourist license for in order to rent. It's not difficult to achieve. It's something that we work with in our office quite often. And in terms of actually managing those rentals, then I mean, you have a mixture of whether people are using agents to almost solely rent out to get income from it, or whether they're renting out just occasionally and using it for family and friends at the other times. All of these services are available, and help and advice depending exactly what you want to do with them.
Very good. Thank you for that. What about a will? Obviously, with an asset as big as the purchase of a property, and updating a will, what would you do regarding a will? Would you create a will in Spain, or would you update one in the UK? Both?
It's actually a really important point, something that we do like to bring to attention to clients. If you have a Spanish property, we highly recommend arranging a Spanish will. A Spanish will will be to cover your Spanish assets. We would still say, if you have UK assets, to have a UK will, a US assets, US will, you know, for each of those, but specifically in Spain. And this is particularly important for people when they become resident in Spain, because they're worried about how the heirs are going to be distributed, whether it would be under what they would be used to in the UK, or whether it would then fall under Spanish inheritance laws in terms of heirs, which are quite different. The fact is that we can arrange a Spanish will for people from the UK over their property, and specifically state in there that they want to use the law of their own country, as in the UK, so that they can have it according to the wishes and the way that they would normally set it out.
Okay, fantastic. That's really comprehensive. Thank you very much for that, Emma. I would like to sort of move on slightly onto people who want to live in Spain, how they can manage and navigate through residency or visiting Spain. So in terms of someone wanting to just go on holiday or extended periods in Spain, can they still do that today, post-Brexit?
This is a question we get asked a great deal following Brexit. This has caused a huge amount of confusion. The basis is, if you are a tourist, if you're coming on holiday, whether you're visiting your own property or whether you're just using a normal package holiday, you do not need a visa. That's not required at all. But you do need to be mindful of the amount of time that you're spending in the Schengen area. This doesn't just include Spain. This will be all of those other countries, France, Spain, etc. You have 90 days in every 180 that you can enjoy in that whole area. This effectively means that the first day that you enter the area starts a clock, and that clock runs for 180 days. During that period, you can spend 90 days, anywhere up to 90 days. They can be together, they can be split up, you can use less than them. But once you reach the 90 days, you will have to leave the Schengen area, and you can't return until the 180 days that you started has ended. Once we've reached the end of that 180 days, the next time you come back into the Schengen area will restart exactly the same. This could be literally a day after the previous one has ended and restarted, or it could be several months later. It's entirely up to you, but you always work within each of those 180-day blocks. And there are plenty of online free calculators that you can use as a guide just to see roughly where you are and if you're getting close to those days.
Very well. That's extremely useful. So just to confirm and to be certain, because this does cause quite a bit of confusion, the 180 days, as you said, starts from the period you enter any Schengen country. It's not January to July, for example, or July to December.
No, not at all.
It's not fixed period. It's a period of when you visit.
Yeah, you can start it at any point in the year, any point.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, okay, so that's for people traveling. In terms of people actually wanting to live in Spain on a more permanent basis, there are various visa applications or ways of living in Spain, I understand. Could you explain the difference between the more common, more applied for options that there are, the type of visas that are available to us?
Yeah, of course, Javier. So basically, if you would like to spend more than 180 days, you have to apply for a visa. But obviously, there are different visas for each kind of residency. So basically, the main ones are non-lucrative visa, the golden visa, and the employment visa. And obviously, each visa has its own requirements. So basically, the main difference are with employment visa, you could be working in Spain and have incomes in Spain. With the non-lucrative visa, you cannot work in Spain and you cannot have any income in Spain. So basically, you will have your incomes in UK. And with the golden visa, you could work in Spain, have income in Spain, but obviously you have to spend more than 500,000 euros. Basically, it could be through a purchase of the property or maybe investments, stocks or whatever, but obviously should be free or mortgage. So you have to do the whole investment. So basically, these are the main difference between these kind of visas.
Very good, thank you. So obviously there is an option almost for anybody depending on their circumstances there, which is good, from people who wanted to just live in Spain to people who want to work there. On the question we often get asked on the golden visa, you mentioned it has to be mortgage free. Can you still have a mortgage as long as you have a certain amount of equity on your property?
Yes, sorry, of course. I mean, you have to have an investment of that amount free of mortgage, but obviously if you spend 1 million, you can have half and half. So that's the reason. I mean, you could have the half with a mortgage and the other half the full investment on Spain. So basically, with this kind of way, you could apply with a golden visa. Also, you could have the purchase and maybe the investment with the stocks or something like that. You could add everything in the same application. I mean, doesn't matter if it's one property, two properties, or three. The main important thing that is the total investment that you did.
Fantastic, very good. Now, can you apply for this visa if someone's already in the UK, not necessarily living, but sort of starting to settle in? They're already in Spain, rather. Are they able to apply for any of these visas in Spain?
No, the first application must be done in UK, in the Spanish consulate. Doesn't matter if, I mean, if it's in Manchester, London, or Edinburgh, will be the closest consulate of your area. But basically, the first applications must be in Spain, and the renewal of the visa could be must be in UK, and the renewal in Spain.
How long can the process take to apply for one of these visas? Is there much difference between them in terms of the application? Sure, there is, but in terms of the period.
Yeah, I mean, in a normal basis, it's around maybe 3 months. So I don't know if the attendees have heard you, Javier. Yeah.
No, so I'll repeat the question again, beg your pardon.
Yeah.
The question again was, how long does it typically take to apply for these visas from when you submit your first application to actually receiving your approval?
So basically, in a normal basis, it takes around 3 months, but we have to inform to the attendees that now the consulates in UK are on strike, so it's taking a bit longer. So obviously, we recommend start as soon as possible because of this situation, because obviously they have a huge backlog, and now with the strike, it's been really hard to obtain the appointments to submit the application.
Understood. Okay, that's very good. Thank you. If someone's already got a property in Spain, does that give them any advantages? Do they still have to apply for residency by dint of owning a property? And if not, does already owning a property in Spain help you with your visa or any application to live in Spain?
No, I mean, it's not necessary has a property in Spain to apply for the visas, and obviously doesn't matter if you has a property or not in Spain. Is will not help for your application. So basically, it's not necessary. Obviously, if you have the property, will be perfect because will be easier to register as soon as you have your visa, but it's not a requirement for the visas.
Very good. And what about renewals of visas? Because I understand they're not permanent, are they? How often do you need to renew a visa?
Yes, I mean, I don't know if Emma could clarify this one better than me because obviously this has been done in Spain. So maybe Emma could help me with that.
Okay, in terms of the non-lucrative visa, the first application is 1 year. Then there is another one after 2 years, a further one after 2 years, and then 5 years. Once you are on the 5-year period, you're classed as a long-term resident, and at this point you can actually start working and earning income in Spain as well. It's very similar for the golden visa, except that it's 1 year, 2 years, and then 5 years.
Very good. And do they have to come back to the UK every time to renew a visa, or can they do that from Spain once they've already obtained their first initial residency?
No, it could be coordinated everything from Spain, and obviously we could help with the requirements and the submission of the renewal too.
Fantastic. And some questions that are coming in from the audience is related to costs. Cost of whether it's a will or even the cost of these visas. Can you give us an indication of how much drafting a simple will would cost in Spain?
Emma?
It's only a matter of a few €100 in order to set up a will. What is important is again, the process is different to the UK. It's not a case of just writing a document and having it witnessed. You do actually have to have it notarized, and this needs to be done by the person themselves. We can't do it by power of attorney. It has to be done while they're actually in Spain. But if anybody would like some help and advice specific to their situation, then we can talk to them exactly about how to set it up, what the process is, and how to arrange to get it finally signed when they can come over here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That was all very useful. In terms of a subject which is often forgotten, but yet very important, and that is the need for protection. through insurance in Spain. Mark, you being an expert and having been running a broker since the 60s, as you've mentioned, can you tell us what insurances would be the most applicable ones, or the required ones for anyone looking to move to Spain, whether it's for their visa application or buying a property, in order for them to be able to move?
Let's see. To be able to apply to get residence here in Spain, they will require to have a private health insurance covering them for all medical costs, including hospitalization, with no co-payments and no exclusions. This can be done. We have several companies which specialize in this because of Brexit, of course. Once the policy has been issued, it has to be issued for a minimum of 1 year, and the premium has to be paid up front for the whole year. Once the first year has gone past, then it can then be paid 6 monthly, quarterly, however they prefer. And there's a series of companies which are offering this, which some specialize in some areas of Spain, others nationwide. Really depends where they're residing, to perhaps place with one company or with another. This we can help everybody with, because we have companies like DKV, like Salus, like Asisa, who can offer this sort of cover for them.
Very good. Do they need to have an NIE in Spain in order to be able to apply for insurance?
Yes, any form of insurance, be it health insurance, car, house, whatever, they must have their NIE, the foreigner's identity number.
Okay, so NIE is crucial for pretty much any activity you do in Spain. Very good. A question that's coming from the audience, just to go back to residency very quickly. Is there such thing as a business visa, like a travel for business, as opposed to an employment visa, something that would not categorize you or eat into your 90 days that we were referring to earlier?
I mean, depends of each situation, obviously, because it will depend of the days they will be in Spain or Schengen area. So if they would like some clarification, obviously they could contact me and I could calculate if they will need this kind of visas and which one will be better for them.
That's great. Thank you for that. In terms of insurance, Mark, you touched briefly on home insurance, someone looking to buy a property. Could you tell us more about the mechanics of that? A, how to apply, and B, what pitfalls to avoid?
Let's see, house insurance, here again, we have several companies. All of them are, because our type of client is basically expatriate, we have, all these companies have policy designed especially for their expatriate clients. So you're getting very similar cover to what you would get or expect on a household policy in the United Kingdom. The ranging from the normal cover of fire, theft, storm damage, water damage, wind damage, breakage of glass, etc. Also burst pipes, loss of water, which happens a lot with people, absentee owners, have a burst pipe in the garden. When they come out 3 months later, they find they've got a water bill from the water board for several hundreds of euros. All this sort of thing can be included as well. Public liability for damage they can cause to the neighbours, whatever, people visiting their houses. And as far as jewelry is concerned, it can be covered even on all risk worldwide cover, same as you can get in the UK. In the event of buying a house with a mortgage, we can include a clause in favour of the bank or the entity which is loaning the money for the mortgage, so that in the event of complete loss of the property, like a fire or something like that, the bank would be paid first whatever is owed to them on the mortgage, and the remainder will be paid obviously to the.
Right, so that's quite important. The interest of the mortgagor is noted on the insurance policy. Perhaps
I would add to also beware of the banks, because the banks, a lot of them will try and push their insurance, and it's rather a devious way that they're sort of offering special discounts or perhaps 1 point less on the interest rate. But the problem is they are giving you a 10-year policy in some cases, and you've got to find that you're paying 10 years premiums up front, and you might sell the house after the 3rd year. So beware with what the banks are offering in that fashion.
And that upfront payment is not, you can't recover it if you sell after 5 years. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Right. Okay. So that's something to certainly be on the lookout for.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Another question coming in from some of our attendees today. Do you need health insurance regardless of your age? In other words, if you're already retired, uncomfortable, what would you need health insurance for? Would you still need it for any visa application? Or
The visa application does insist that you have health insurance covering you
regardless of age?
Exactly. Naturally, the insurance companies, somebody who's had severe cancer or something like that, they're not going to take them on. Or if they are over the age of 75, most of the companies will not insure them either. We do have one company which will take people, whatever the age, but they're again depending on the state of health. But I'm sure Emma will be able to pinpoint on this. I do understand that the national health, you can, in these cases where you do have a pre-existing illness or you're over the insurable age, I think you can come to an agreement with the Spanish National Health to get insurance, from what I understand.
Yeah, they have got some reciprocal cover for people. It can only be applied for once you are a resident. And then if people qualify for the S1 form in the UK on a state pension, first of all, they can get that. But there are things in place for people. So in those situations, we would always advise just to give us the details, and then we can look into it further specifically to what's happening with you.
Because I did understand the Valencian community did have a sort of people who are under the age of 65, in other words, under retirement age, that this was before Brexit, whether it still exists now, I honestly don't know. Whereas if they do have pre-existing illnesses where they can't insure with a private health, by paying in a certain amount of money every quarter, they could access the Spanish national health. I'm not too sure if that still exists after Brexit.
It does still exist. There is a policy. I think it's around about €60 a month or something like that. I could, obviously I will check for anybody that wants to have a look. But they do have that for people before and after retirement age. There's a different price below and above 65, but it does still exist. Yes.
Very good. Again, thank you for that. Another question from our audience today is, we touched on making joint applications where there's a married couple for the residency. Someone's asking, what about a civil partnership? Is it recognized in Spain, or at least in the migration process of Spain, as being a couple in terms of your application for a non-lucrative visa, for example?
At this point, to be clear, it's not so clear in Spain. It depends of the area you will be resident. So obviously we have to study each situation of each client. But if they are married, obviously they could proceed with the application together. But if they are civil partner, it will depend of the area they will be living. So if they would like to clarify any with us, we could try to help them. But to be clear, not in all areas will accept this kind of civil partnership. And I don't know if you could add something else, but this is the situation at this point in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, as Christina says, a lot depends on the area of Spain. There has very recently been changes where they are talking about it, because there is an equivalent in Spain, parejas de hecho, which it's called. So if you have a registered civil partnership, then there is a process for us to check and see if you can go through the application together. In principle, many of the times that can be the case, but we really do need to check each time. But each of the autonomous regions can treat this civil partnership differently in different areas. For example, with wills, it's a very grey area as well. So with everyone, would encourage you, I don't think you can't make an application, because that's not the case, but let's check it out for you and get all the details so you know exactly where you are.
Yeah.
Very good. And I think we have time for one more question that's come in. So someone buying property in Spain who's not planning to live in Spain, just as an investment, hence they won't be a resident in Spain. What's the tax situation for someone, for a non-resident in Spain?
There are still
earned income, yeah.
Yeah, there is still taxes to be applied. All property owners in Spain, non-residents, have a non-resident tax. It's kind of a wealth tax, I suppose, on the property. It's not a huge amount. It's based on the cadastral value of the property, not the market price, and is charged annually. I can't give a price of what that is, because it's completely dependent on the property in the area, and it's something that's very specific to each property. But obviously, if you get in contact with us with those details, then we can give you an idea. And then the second thing is, you would need to, if you are renting as an investment, as an income, that property, then you'll need to present taxes just solely on that annually in Spain. Again, that's done trimestrally and finally annually for each of the trimesters. That's the most important each quarter. And we're able to manage that for you, making those arrangements for presentation. And again, the amount is going to be dependent on your specific situation. So if you want to get in contact with us with those exact details, then we can give you a ballpark idea of what you'd be looking at.
Fantastic, very good. And I think just one last question. What's a bit of confusion as to the exact process of ultimately becoming a citizen in Spain, a Spanish citizen, and sort of the processes you have to go through from applying for your initial visa to residence. What would you say is a normal process to get yourself to becoming a Spanish citizen?
If
Where
I can
would you start?
I was just going to say, jump on this, and this is something I see an awful lot, and it's this confusion of terms, because a person can be, for myself, for example, I've been living in Spain now for 18 years, and I've been resident in Spain for 18 years. I am a British person resident in Spain. I'm not a citizen of Spain. I still hold a British passport, but I am registered as a resident in Spain, and you can stay that way for your entire life. Actually getting citizenship more refers to nationality or passport. Well, that's a different process altogether. That would be, for example, a typical British person living in Spain for something like 10 years can then apply for citizenship, for nationality, and go through the process to become a Spanish national. But that's a choice if that's what you want to do and that's what fits what you need. You can remain a resident doing the renewals through your entire life, and that gives you all of the rights that you require in order to live here as a British citizen.
Fantastic, very comprehensively answered. Thank you very much for that. I think that's all we have time for today. So we have to wrap up the session now. I would like to advise everybody that, if they want to get hold of us, any questions, further questions they may have, our contact details are showing on the screen. Please feel free to contact us at any time. There will also be a recorded version of this presentation. Should anybody want to view it again, you can please get in touch with us, and we will make sure we give you a link for where you can either watch it again, or if you have anybody who you think would be interested in watching it. So that is all. A big thank you to all our panelists today for presenting, and especially to all our viewers for attending today. Thank you very much.